Welcome back. I hope you are still entertained. We have established the step for optimal controlling experience, ensuring your complete proficiency. Ensure you are legal and safe, that's separation. Ensure you're in compliance, that's procedures. Now, ensure you are correct, that is phraseology. Let's go back to our scenario, and now we will rewind all the way back to the beginning and try again. In order to keep you in the loop, this is how I will structure the video, into 3 parts: arrival, approach, and departure. In each of these phases, I will expand on the phraseologies of altitude, path, and speed. And we will begin the same place as last time. Sunscan 123 and Scandinavian 456. Scandinavian checks in first. Initial call. Have we been past that a few times now? There should be no excuses anymore. Billet approach, Scandinavian 456 descending, flight level 130 inbound Otnev. Scandinavian 456 billet approach. What do we say? Identified? Radar contact? Is one more correct than the other one? Well, let's check the documentation. Nope, they are equally correct. You gotta make sure he's actually identified though. This is not identified. This is. Identified. Expect ILS Zulu approach, runway 27, information alpha is current. Remember to say the entire procedure, including diversion, and acknowledge weather information. This one is always fine to use, and especially for aircraft inbound to a point on a procedure, but let's just go ahead and look at another version as well, which is equally correct. Billet approach, Sunscan 123 descending, flight level 130, inbound Otnev, information alpha. Sunscan 123, billet approach, radar contact, vectoring for ILS Zulu approach, runway 27, information alpha correct. If you are assigning vectors, this is the correct phrase as per point 221. Again, notice the full procedure and acknowledging the weather. Now we got that out of the way. Let's talk about the 3 dimensions of the arrival phase: descents, turns, and speed restrictions. All of these are instructions, meaning that they are not cleared or approved. Like in your S2 training, approved is an answer to a specific pilot request, cleared is a reserved term for certain things. So we need to give Sunscan 123 a descent. Either we instruct him to descend flight level 70, or we just want to allow him to decide, we say descend when ready, flight level 70. This part specifying a condition that comes before descent instruction. It can be a whole variety of things, but now be careful not to utter a bad Americanism here, descend and maintain. This is not an acceptable phrase. It's called descent flight level 70. It's an instruction. I mean, they even make a point in Danish phraseology documentation that it is not allowed to say descend and maintain, so they must be really serious about this stuff. Good. So we descend Scandinavian 456 as well. We will initially descend him only 3,000 feet because they're getting a bit close. Scandinavian 456 descend to flight level 100. Now this one is also important. Do you say 100 or 100? Obviously, you must say 100. This is in order to avoid confusion, especially between numbers like 100 and 170. Be advised though, this is only for altitudes. Speeds and headings are still read as single digits. Now, when we gave these instructions, separation was fine, but now it's not looking so good anymore. So let's turn Scandinavian 456 away from his star to the south. This can be done in several ways. Generally, there are 3 types of turns that you must consider on a regular basis. Which one to use depend on the situation, and they all have their pros and cons. First one is a specified heading, the one which is used in most cases, and it goes like this: Scandinavian 456, turn right heading 180. This is an inflexible, easy to understand and precise instruction. You are specifying the turn direction, you are specifying the heading to go to. For all of the larger heading changes, which would be like 15 degrees or more, or for the airplane already on a heading, this is the one to go for, simply due to its simplicity and directness. However, as Scandinavian 456 is inbound to Otnev, he is flying a track, not a heading. And if we learn something from the meteorology lesson, it is that wind has a profound effect on our heading and track. For smaller changes in headings from a track, you can get in trouble with a specific turn and heading instructions. Let's say he's at track 115 and you want him to fly heading 125. But little do you know that because of a strong southerly crosswind, his nose must actually point further towards the wind to maintain that 115 track, so his heading is actually 127. Now, as you assigned right turn heading 125, the inflexibility of this instruction becomes a problem, and the pilot should, if he does not challenge you, turn 358 degrees all the way around to heading 125. Now, should the pilot think for a second and challenge you? Yes. Do they do that on VATSIM? Oh no. In this case, we have the second version. To fly the closest heading. It is pronounced like this: Scandinavian 456, fly heading 125. This has the heading, but no direction stated. With this, the pilot will fly the shortest way to reach that heading, either by a right or a left turn. This brings more flexibility, especially for wind, but if you use it every time or doing larger heading corrections, the pilot may get easily confused over the direction and one day by mistake turn the wrong way. So good for small heading corrections of 15 degrees or less, and mainly when turning from a track, but not to be used for large heading corrections. Now, this is not really used very often though, because cause and effect. You use it really because you're worried about the wind correction, right? Saying fly heading 125. Well, if you do that, he will actually turn left by 2 degrees. So he won't go 358 degrees to the right, that's at least something, but he's not flying the track you want him to fly. You don't want him at heading 125 anyway. The whole idea was to get him 10 degrees to the right of his track. So that is where our third option comes in, track correction. A great way of maintaining complete control over the flight path. We simply cut away the uncertainty of wind correction angle and say Scandinavian 456 turn 10 degrees right. Now, it doesn't give a heading, but just whatever heading he's flying, he will adjust it 10 degrees to the right. This makes it a great for consistent track and for wind correction you did not anticipate. The only downside to this is its complexity, which may make pilots prone to misunderstanding 10 degrees left to left heading 010 degrees. So stay vigilant when assigning this form of headings, make sure the pilots do the right thing. All in all three of these are great, and you should use all of them for when they are relevant. For small corrections of a track or heading, use degrees left or right. For small corrections from track where the aircraft will remain on vectors afterwards, use fly heading. For everything else, which is most of the time, use the good old faithful turn right or turn left heading so and so. So Scandinavian got 180 degrees and now he's ready to go back. When clearing back to a pilot interpreted waypoint on the arrival, such as Odnev, you will have to say Scandinavian 456 clear direct Odnev. While we don't need to talk more about this at the moment, know that there are different ways of giving directs depending if they are going to the approach, to a star, to an SID, or en route. More about that in the departure phase. Great. Let's talk about speed. There are a few normal and unnormal cases, so let's keep it simple. To solve our situation, we ensure SunScan has a higher speed than Scandinavian. Therefore, we assign 250 knots to SunScan by saying SunScan 123, speed 250 knots. Maybe we wanted a little bit of a neater speed control, so maybe we want SunScan at least at 230 knots and SAS less than that. SunScan 123, speed 230 knots or greater. Scandinavian 456, speed 220 knots or less. Notice we must use the term greater and less, not more, better, slower, and other weird standard words. Greater and less. Now, if you need to reduce further, there's a good phrase you can use, which is Scandinavian 456 reduced to minimum clean speed. This is, as you know, the slowest the aircraft can go without selecting flaps. Now, let's move to the approach phase. We go back to the altitude now. SunScan needs to descend to 3,000 feet, so we need to assign that descent, and as it is the first time that the aircraft is cleared to an altitude below transition level, the QNH must be included, just like an ATS TR-140. SunScan 123, descend altitude 3,000 feet, QNH 1013. Notice that the altitude part of this instruction is actually not mandatory to include, and QNH is only mandatory the first time he is cleared to an altitude. Now, let's give the same to Scandinavian, but in order to make sure he stays on profile, we can tell him to ensure he's 3,000 feet by Odnev. So we say Scandinavian 456 descend to reach 3,000 feet by Odnev, QNH 1013. This is not really encouraged to use on a regular basis, but for specific restrictions it is possible to use. Now, we thought about it, and you know what? We're going to give SunScan a shorter 6 miles final in order to optimize the traffic flow. Then we need to remember the distance versus altitude we learned about in the procedure section. And remember that he needs to descend to 2,000 feet to intercept the glide slope from below. We do not need the QNH again, so that's good. But we do need to remember that the MSA is 2,300, so we need to be careful. Also in phraseology, as the pilot needs to be made aware that he is below the MSA and you got his back. While it's not written in ATS instruction 14, two ways of telling that are SunScan 123 descend 2,000 feet, radar separation applied, or even easier, SunScan 123 descend 2,000 feet, radar controlled. Good then. SunScan will now go for 6 miles final from 2,000 feet, and Scandinavian will do the transition from 3,000 feet. The initial approach phase is done, so let's move to turning them in. Because there's something about this thing cleared for approach, and it has some implications that we need to discuss here. Clearing for an approach is done via a point or via a vector. For SunScan, it's via vector. SunScan 123, turn right heading 240 degrees, cleared ILS Zulu approach, runway 27. For Scandinavian, it's Scandinavian 456 via Odnev, cleared ILS Zulu approach, runway 27. What does this imply though? It importantly implies for the pilot to maintain his last heading or track and then intercept the approach procedure when he enters that procedure. For SunScan it's there, for Scandinavian it's there. This is where the cleared comes into play. You may have heard controllers in, for example, the UK saying intercept localizer 27 and follow the glide slope. This is not phraseology for Denmark. Why? Because it's really two different things. A localizer is a physical station you track inbound to, but it's no different than a heading, a VOR, or an RNAV point really. Therefore, intercept localizer means to fly on that localizer until the end of your days. Cleared ILS approach is way different. It's a procedure. It's this, not this. Sure, you use the same station to track the center line, but it's two completely different terms. This is also why it's so important that you say ILS Zulu approach, because the pilot is executing the procedure and he must have a chance to identify which procedure to follow, and there the exact version of that procedure matters. So you must say cleared ILS Zulu approach runway 27. The pilot maintains the last assigned heading and the altitude, and when possible the pilot will follow the procedure when it's being intercepted. It also means though that you must take great care of what you can say after you clear an aircraft from approach. Can you assign headings and altitudes after clearing? Can I say SunScan turn right heading 245 descend 2,500 feet? No, sorry, that door is closed. They are cleared for an approach. And well, that's not really completely correct. And then yet again, you may have made a mistake. Remember our procedures 45 degrees or less to intercept and enable the intercept of glide slope from below? Maybe you realize one of those requirements were not met, and so you must adjust. You should, however, if you change headings and altitudes at this point, verify that the approach clearance is still valid. While no documentation is really of this, it's a good phrase to say is like SunScan 123, turn right heading 245 to intercept localizer. This confirms that the approach clearance is still valid. For altitude, and this is a very popular one in Copenhagen, they say SunScan 123, descend 1,900 feet further with the glide slope. Same principle. Now, SunScan and Scandinavian is established on the ILS. SunScan has been given 180 knots and Scandinavian still has 220 knots or less. And now we need to talk about the ways you deal with speed restrictions close to the runway. Scandinavian had 220 knots or less, meaning his problems are solved. SunScan, on the other hand, had a specific speed restriction that needs to be addressed, or otherwise he's gonna go ahead and land with 180 knots and get fired. So a few ways to cancel the speed restriction. First one is a time-limited speed restriction, specifying a time or place where it can be cancelled. Normally, as per the procedures, you would say SunScan 123, maintain 180 knots until 6 miles final, or maintain 160 knots until 4 miles final. Hopefully you remember these values from earlier. Option 2 is saying SunScan 123, free speed. And option number 3 is saying SunScan 123, resume normal speed, which is a little bit more correct. What is the difference between those two? Well, free speed means the pilot may do exactly the speed they like, Normal speed means that they must fly what they had planned to do in the first place. This means complying with all rules and procedures in regards to what there is to be established. On the other hand, if you want Scandinavian to fly as slow as possible, not to catch up, you can say Scandinavian 456 reduced to minimum approach speed. Then they landed and everybody is happy. Phraseology from there on is now on tower. Let's do a quick look on departures. Luckily, this is quickly done. First is the check-in and identification. Remember to listen if the pilot states the altitude when he's checking in. If not, you must tell him what you see. Billion approach, Finnair 975 passing 2,400 feet, climbing flight level 60. Finnair 975 billion approach identified, continue climb, flight level 120. Continue, by the way, is voluntary. Let's see, now Air Baltic 52 Foxtrot is coming next. So let's get Finnair out of the way with a direct. That's a clearance. Finnair 975, cleared direct to INTED. Now Air Baltic is coming. Billion approach, Air Baltic 52 Foxtrot, climbing flight level 60. Oh geez, no identification, no altitudes. Looks like you gotta spell it out for this guy. First, we need him to squawk mode Charlie. Air Baltic 52 Foxtrot, billion approach, not identified. That's how it is, and then we add the VATSIM thing, squawk mode Charlie. Now, there he is. Air Baltic 52 Foxtrot identified passing 2,200 feet. Maintain flight level 60. Use maintain, not climb, if the level he's supposed to maintain is already one he's been cleared to. So notice here maintain can be used, you just cannot use it alongside climb. Well, this is not enough. Okay, let's get to the turn. Air Baltic 52 Foxtrot, fly heading 360. See, we used the second option there, the closest heading, because we saw he was in a turn already, and it's very difficult to say if a right or a left turn would be great at this stage. And track correction, that only really works from a consistent track, so this second option here is great. Saying stop turn heading 360 is also acceptable. Now, as we're ready to re-clear Air Baltic to the route, we have a very important phrase which must be included. That is that even as we are now clearing Air Baltic to INTED, we have to confirm what to do after. We have to confirm that he will continue on his filed path, because he's been taken out of that filed path by giving vectors. This must be uttered by use of resume own navigation. This is for when the subsequent flight path is the filed flight path. Two options here really. Clear direct INTED, resume on navigation, or alternatively resume on navigation, direct INTED. Speed is easy. You should not assign speed or greater or speed or less in the climb. It's just not good practice. You should instead give the pilot the opportunity to fly fast. Use a phrase no ATC speed restrictions. That's the official one, but phrases like free speed and cancel speed restrictions or high speed approved are used all the time. That's the whole 9 yards of phraseology. You're now 2 out of 3. Now you just need the last one about sequencing, and then we are all done for the S3 pre-training. Thanks for watching. Class is dismissed.